Hey everyone, this is Jeff Risdon from the Detroit Lions podcast and Lions Wire, coming at you with a little bit of a preview for who I'm going to be watching when the Lions play the New York Giants in the preseason game on Thursday night. Finally got some football coming. Very excited about preseason action. Probably not going to see a lot of the Lions that many of you know and love and want to see and will be important. Dan Campbell basically ruled that out in his press conference on Tuesday. Jared Goff's not going to play. Not going to see Taylor Decker. You're probably not going to see Penei Sewell, Aiden Hutchinson, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Basically, anybody who's critical to the success of the team in 2024, you're not going to see him. If you do, it might be for a play or two. And after the way that the two teams fought repeatedly in practices this week in New York, I think they're playing it all. So this week is going to be all about guys fighting for reserve jobs and trying to prove that they actually have earned those jobs. So with that in mind, first guy I'm watching, probably the first guy that most of you are watching, and you probably expect me to say this, is Hendon Hooker. He might play the entire game. This is the first time we get to see Hendon Hooker play against another team in live reps, and I'm fascinated to see how it goes because I have seen a lot of good from Hendon Hooker. I've seen some bad Hooker this offseason, training camp, OTAs. I just want to see him get into a game and show what he's got or what he doesn't have. It's more about, I just want to know. I generally feel pretty good about Hooker, but there's things, that I want to see. I want to see what happens when he gets a blitz that he hasn't seen before, when he's throwing against defensive backs that he doesn't know necessarily their tendencies all that well. Like you do, one of the things that happens in training camp is that you're throwing against the same guys all the time, and you're throwing to the same guys all the time. Well, they sort of learn your tendencies, and you sort of learn theirs. And that's one of the reasons why joint practices are so great and why the preseason is so valuable, because you're finally getting a chance to go against other dudes. And for Hooker, it's reading a different style of defense. It's understanding that different cornerbacks might have different traits. Their safeties are different than our safeties. Means that they might be more prone to breaking on a ball, and you might be able to catch them. How much can you manipulate them with your eyes? That sort of thing. I also want to see if he's going to be fine on running, taking off and running, and what happens at the end of a run. Because he hasn't been allowed to be hit yet. He's a very talented runner. We've seen him take off in practice. We've seen him throw off platform on the run in practice, and it's looked pretty good, quite frankly. But there's something different when the defense can come up and pop you at the end of your run. So I'm curious if that scenario comes up, what happens with him. Overall, I expect him to show a little bit of rust, a little bit of greenness, but overall, I think he's going to do pretty well. That's my expectation anyways. And maybe it's faulty to have expectations going into the preseason game, but there's a lot riding on him, quite frankly. If he can't answer the bell in these preseason games, it's going to be very disappointing. Let's put it that way. Next up on the list, who I'm looking at, let's stick on the offensive backfield. This is a do-or-die time for a couple of running backs, but specifically Jermar JEfferson. It's his fourth season. Hasn't played yet in the regular season, appreciable time at all. He's in a real fight to make this roster. It's a very uphill battle. He's certainly not ahead. Obviously, Jamar Gibbs, David Montgomery, picked out very highly. We see either of them in any capacity in this game. Craig Reynolds has put a stranglehold on the number 3 running back spot. He's been fantastic this summer. I don't think we've talked enough about him. He's earned it. He has seen the challenge to his, carries position by Sione Vaki. Vaki's making the team. He's the number 4 running back. You will see him a lot on special teams. You'll see him in the backfield on this game as well. Watch for him as a receiver. Back to Jermar. I just need to see him show something that makes him worth keeping even on the practice squad. Look, he's been great in training camp. He's having his best training camp, in my opinion. He's picked up some semblance of pass protection, which he's never had before. He's done fairly well on special teams, which he's never really done before. This is a year, though, where, like, if he doesn't make the active 53, and it's doubtful that he does, do you even keep him on the practice squad, or is he going to be like, you know what? I kind of want to try somewhere else. Well, this is sort of him auditioning for that. You know, the Giants don't have a great deal of running back depth. Maybe he can stick there as their number 5 on the practice squad instead of being that in Detroit where he knows that he can't necessarily climb that hill ever. So I want to see how he responds to that. I also want to see him how he plays against other defenders, because the Lions defense, this is where it hurts when you've been there for a long time and haven't really progressed all that much, because they know what you're doing. You know, they understand that he's going to try to bounce that cut to the right all the time. That's just what he does. They understand that if you get into his pad on a pass protection, he's going to give away like that. So this is a chance for him to sort of, you know, show that he belongs in the NFL, if not in Detroit, then somewhere. And that's pretty powerful incentive for a guy that's been around for a little bit. Obviously, the tight end battle after Brock Wright and Sam Laporta. Laporta is clearly not going to play. I am not in New York. I'm actually at a park in Grand Rapids right now. I'm sorry about the lawn mowing. I'm near a baseball field. This is the only time and place that I can squeeze getting a video in here. The indications are from New York, and I talked to a couple people who are actually there and have seen Laporta, that he's going to be fine. Just a minor hamstring tweak that he did last Friday. It's not a big deal. He would play if it was a regular season game, but obviously you don't need to do that now. So this is a huge game for James Mitchell. He has fallen on the depth chart. He is no higher than 5th on the depth chart. I think Parker Hesse and Shane Zylstra have passed him, and he's got to show something. This is his. We're getting to the point now where it's crap or get off the pot with him. He's obviously got athletic potential. He's got blocking potential, and there are times where we see it. But there are far too many times where we don't see enough of it, where it just doesn't manifest into football talent. And for me personally, it's a little disappointing because I liked him coming out of Virginia Tech. I think that knee injury that he had as a senior or his last year at Hokies, I don't know if he was underclassmen. He's just never recovered the confidence in the strength of his leg from that. That's my speculative opinion in watching him, because he has changed. He is not the same player that he was at Virginia Tech, and I know he gets that. He did very well in the RAS testing that Math Bomb does so well, but it doesn't translate on the field all that often, and it's frustrating because you do see it from time to time, but not enough. And this is a chance again that he's in the same boat as Jefferson, where if he's not making the Lions, and there's a decent chance he doesn't, he's trying to audition for his next team, and why not the Giants? Well, one of the reasons why not the Giants, because they have like 8 tight ends in camp. They're having a battle of their own. So they also have a lot of linebacker uncertainty in New York. And this is a game where he can maybe get over on some linebackers that are trying a little too hard and, you know, punching a little bit above their weight class. So big game for James Mitchell. We'll just go position by position. Wide receiver. Everybody's favorite guy that they've never heard of before is Doris Fountain. Reese has had a great camp. He has gotten first team reps. He's earned them. He's wide receiver 3 right now in my eyes, and I think the team sees him that way too. They certainly did last week. He needs to show it in the game. He's been around a long time. This is a guy who has fought through a lot of injuries. An injury, quite frankly, that he didn't recover from all that well. An ankle injury back in the day that stymied his Colts career. He's healthy. He looks great. He's a big dude. He can make catches away from his body frame. He transitions well from receiver to runner. He's ahead of Donovan Peoples-Jones. He's certainly ahead of Antoine Green. I want to see him prove it in a game and solidify the fact that he belongs on the 53-man roster and those guys don't. Big time for Doris Fountain to do that. Now, the Giants have a pretty good secondary. You know, in general, we as Lions fans tend to crap on the Giants from where they've been. They got some people in that secondary that can play, and their defensive line is pretty solid too. Like they're they're not a defense that's going to give things away. And they do have some appreciable depth, so it's not going to be easy for him. I expect him to be the featured receiver. If you're one of those degenerates who plays fantasy football in the preseason, I would put a lot of your shares in Doris Fountain. I think Reese is going to have a big game, or the potential for a big game, I should say. I want to see him do it, though. Also, Caden Davis, I'm watching you. Do well, please. Jalen Calhoun, too. There's a lot of wide receivers to watch in this game, but specifically Fountain, because I think this is going to be his best chance to shine against fairly legitimate NFL competition. I don't believe the Giants are playing much of their starting lineup either. You're probably not going to see Deontay Banks out there. Probably not going to see any Giants that you've heard of. You're probably not going to see it either. So that's the offensive side of the ball. Oops, I forgot the offensive line. Sorry, I got distracted. There was a really pretty woman walking with a very cute dog that took my mind off the offensive line. I'm back now. A little moment of bliss there. Giovanni Manu, of course, is who we're going to be watching. We all want to see what happens with him. He has struggled this offseason. That's kind of being kind. He does not look like he's played an appreciable amount of football. And obviously the athletic potential is, guys, it's ridiculous how good he looks as an athlete. As a football player, Hank Fraley, the offensive line coach, has a lot of work to do. We get to see the fruits of that labor early on. He's going to play a lot in this game, I would suspect. There's actually quite a few offensive linemen to watch. Michael Neese is going to be the center. He, in my opinion, has taken over the job as the backup center and also the top interior offensive line reserve. He saw that a little bit on Tuesday where he played first team right guard with Kevin Zeitler out. And he's had a very good camp. Not enough people are talking about Michael Neese. I think he's a guy that's going to prove himself. But Manu, I just want to see him look like he's capable enough to be on an active roster without the Lions being laughed at for it. And that I know that sounds harsh, but it's been rough, man. Like we know he's a developmental project. There's nothing wrong with that. That they didn't need a guy in that spot right now. Colby Sorsdal has taken over as the top swing tackle. Dan Skipper's still around. Like, we're good there. Like, I understand the plan. I'm good with the plan. But I think even the Lions themselves have been taken aback at just how far away Manu is. And this is a chance for him to show that he's learning and growing from everything that he's being taught in practice. I mean, literally, he did not know the difference between a run set and a pass set in rookie minicamp. Like, Hank Fraley was out there teaching him the proper footwork. Like, oh, I got to do it this way. Like, it complete naive in football terms. So just building him up and tapping into the incredible amount of athletic potential that he's got. This is his first chance to field test that against a Giants team that is trying very hard to sort out their pass rush situation behind their starters. So he's going to see a lot of action, I would suspect, probably at right tackle. And, those Giants guys are going to be hungry. They do blitz some. You're going to see some blitzing from that. So let's see if he picks those things up. See how well he communicates with the guard to his inside shoulder, whether that's somebody that he's familiar with or not, and whether that changes or not throughout the game. Just a little nuances of things. I want him to look comfortable playing football. I know that's a pretty low bar, but I think that's what I want to see from Manu. So big number 59 out there. Fingers are crossed that he shows okay, because it sounds like from the reports out of New York that he is progressing some. There's a lot of progress to be made. Let's hope that it starts showing some fruition there. But Manu would be the guy that I'm looking at on the offensive line. Now let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Defensive tackle, obviously last year's version of Giovanni Manu, Broderick Martin. He's looked a lot better in camp. And that just a cycle. That's one of the reasons why I'm not too worried about Manu and where he's at right now, because I've seen where Broderick Martin was at this time a year ago to where he is now. The Lions assistant coaching emphasis on teaching and player development did wonders for Broderick Martin. We're going to see some fruits of the labor of that, hopefully, against New York, that does not have a good offensive line and specifically doesn't have any depth at all on the offensive line. This is a game where Martin can make some hay. I apologize for the construction going on around me here, but again, this is like the only time that I can get this done, so you have to bear with it. For those of you doing the audio-only version, I'm out. It's a beautiful day out here in Grand Rapids. I'm at a park, and unfortunately, when we get beautiful days, people work. I interrupt my workflow, nonetheless. Broderick Martin should have a good game. Playing as a nose tackle, I want to see him keep his pad level down. That's something that when Chris and I talked to him right after he got drafted, he talked about his pad level and how it needed to improve. Well, I've seen better pad level from the summer. I want to see it in a game against unfamiliar opponents. So he's a guy that I'm certainly watching. Edge, pass rush, whatever you want to call it. Matthew Betts, put up or shut up time. He, Canadian football star, came down, looked pretty good in minicamp. Training camp's been a different story. Since the pads came on, he has struggled. Dan Campbell talked about that they're going to scale back what they were trying to have him do. They were trying to teach him the Sam role. The crash course just wasn't working for Betts. So they simplified things for him. They scaled back his responsibilities. I want to see how that looks. Again, the Giants have a lot of very inexperienced, very uncertain offensive tackle depth. So it's Betts' chance to shine. And I'll say this, if he doesn't do something in this game, he might not make it to the next game. He might be a guy that the Lions are just like, you know what? Between Mitchell Agude and James Houston and Derek Barnes taking over that Sam role and running away with it. We've got some guys. We do the heavy end a lot, where Levi Alzarike can slide out there and play some. Josh Paschal is certainly going to be a big part of that equation. Maybe try to clutch on somewhere else. It really is that big of a game for Betts. So let's see what big number 95 can do. Hopefully something, because I've only had a couple of interactions with him. I like the dude. I'm rooting for him. Got to see something in this game. Big game for Matthew Betts. Linebacker, you know what? There's not a lot of questions about what's going to happen with this team. It doesn't look like Rodrigo's going to play after he sat out the practice. The linebacking core is essentially set. So in this game, I'm watching special teams, and I'm watching a guy like DaRon Gilbert, the undrafted rookie from Northern Illinois, by way of Lafayette, by way of Detroit Brother Rice High School. Really good story. He's had a decent camp. I would say he was better before the pads came on. We'll see what he can do. And again, this is all about special teams. If they're keeping an extra linebacker, it will be in the special teams capacity. So let's see what he can do in punt coverage and kick return blocking specifically. We'll jump ahead of the special teams real quick. The new kickoff return, the coverage has actually looked pretty good, but I think some of that is the fact that the blocking has not been good. Not to Dave Kipp's standards, let's put it that way. So if he can stand out in that, that's his shot at sticking at least on the practice squad. So good luck to you, DaRon. You're a good guy. I'm rooting for you as well. Not that I'm rooting against anybody, but look, I'm a fan. Like, there's certain guys that you just like more, where you connect with them. DaRon Gilbert's that guy for me. He's a MAC guy. I'm a MAC guy. Cloud, Ohio Bobcat. We're going to be terrible this year, by the way. The quarterbacks at Indiana, our running backs, Wyoming, I think. College football, different shoe. Defensive backs. Let's get to them. Get back on course here. That very beautiful woman just walked by again. I'm smitten. Yeah. The dog's actually really cute too. I turned the camera up, but I don't want to completely embarrass myself. Cornerbacks. Amik Robertson, I think he's settled in. Obviously losing Emmanuel Mosley, a massive blow. That sucks for Iman. Like, feel bad for the guy. I really do. Because he had looked very good in the slot. This is Ennis Rakestraugh's time to shine. he should be better than anybody he's going against from the Giants receiving core. I want to see him prove that. Rakestraw has definitely impressed me all summer with his progress, with his physicality in coverage, with his ball skills, with the ball in the air. Let's go 15. You're playing for a bigger role. I think you can go out and win it this week. So this is a great game to watch. Ennis Rakestraw, he's probably going to play a lot. Situation where if you're a Lions fan wanting to get a good look at your rookie class, he is the most prominent rookie to look at in this game. So number 15, Ennis Rakestraw, will probably play some in the slot. You might see him outside as well. But that's where my eyes will be focused there. Obviously, the kicking game, Jake Bates, not good lately. It's been rough. It sounds like he had a very rough day on Tuesday. Kicking, I know he missed at least 3 kicks, perhaps 4 or 5, depending on your source. The Giants, interestingly, the Giants media was a lot more negative tinge towards Bates than I expected them to be. Just reading their notes, we as Lions fans, we're rooting for the guy. Like, he's a Michigan Panther. He's a great story. We've seen him do some interesting things in camp, but he's been barely a 50% kicker the last 3 times he's kicked live. That's not great, but this is a chance. He hits a 60-yarder in this game, all's forgiven. Also, I want to see if Dan Campbell tries to kick the long field goal instead of going for it. We will learn a little bit about Dan Campbell and whether he's going to trust his kicker in a situation in a meaningless game or not. I think that's going to be something that a lot of fans and media gadflies are going to be looking at. That's your Giants game. Go Lions.